Dream Big Today. My name is Debbie, and this is a magnificent Monday. This is September the 30th, the last day of the month. So if you've been reading along with us, we're like, I should have done the math. I think three-quarters of the way through. There we go. Maybe my little grandson would be proud of me for getting that one figured out. But I mean, time flies when you're having fun. And in today's word, I'm so excited about this. And I'm hoping that as you read through it this morning, that you'll be able to hop into the chat box and share some of the nuggets that you picked up. And so if you would, just if you're new to this, just say hi, where you're from. Maybe let's do another thing. Just what church do you attend? Put that in there too. It's always fun to see the a variety of different churches that hop on. A lot of our ladies at my church are joining us, and so I hope that you put your name in there, or at least say hi, so I'll get to say hi to you. This is how we build our community, and we've got friends all across the United States as well as other countries. And man, it's so great to just see a familiar name and pray for you and celebrate with you. That's why we ask you to put your praise reports on the chat box and your prayer request, because it's an honor to pray with you, and it is a celebration to share in the miracles that God is doing in your life as he's doing in mine. There's some things I'm wishing that he'd hurry up on some of those miracles. God, I'm just really getting weary. I'm tired. How many times are we going to beat this same uh I was going to say beat this dog, but somebody might not like me saying that. But you know what? That's why we stay in the Word. And today, if you're reading with us, Isaiah 60 through 62, and then we're going to be in Philippians. It's talking about shining the light. And so, if we're walking in the Word and we believe what we read, then we know that God is wanting us to shine his light to a dark world. As we start now in Isaiah 60, let's look and see what that says. Arise, Jerusalem, let your light shine for all to see. For the glory of the Lord rises to shine on you. So this is talking about the future kingdom of Israel. And glory will appear like 23 times throughout these last 7 chapters. And all of my little notes, I've got tons of notes in here. Uh, so from this chapter on, the prophet predicts the prophecies of the restored Hebrew people. And so the glory, the light, the glory of the Lord rises to shine on you. It's the Shekinah glory. It's the glorious light of God's kingdom. The darkness as black as night covers all the nations of the earth. Now, unless if you live in a city, you're not going to see that type of darkness. If you live in the country, and then you will see what on a starless night. Well, there's always stars, but if the moon's not out, I mean, you know what I'm saying. You can be in this place that it is so dark you can't even see your hand before your face, and it's just an eerie feeling. It says, but the glory of the Lord rises and appears over you, Israel. And sometimes we can think about that to ourselves. The glory of the Lord is going to rise and shine over you, Clarissa and Jen and Raquel and Melissa. He's there. So there's a change coming to Israel. This isn't the rapture, but the second coming of Israel. So this is like the light of Jesus in the transfiguration. Matthew 17:2 says, and was transfigured before him, and his face did shine as the sun, and his clothes became white as the light. The Gentile nations will see this and they will be attracted to the light. Verse 4 says, look and see. Look and see. I mean, have you ever looked at something and not seen it? You can look around and not really see what it's all about. But this is like a focus. Get ready. Look and see, for everyone is coming home. Your sons are coming home from distant lands. Your little daughters will be carried home. This is a regathering of that family. And I like to think of a regathering of my family, of a regathering of your family. There's a day that all of that's going to take place. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out. We will be coming together. All of us will be coming together in the family of God. Verse 7 says, the flocks of Kedar will be given to you, and the rams of Nebaioth will be brought to my altars. I will accept their offerings, and I will make my temple glorious. So the sheep and the goats, they're going to willfully go up on the altar to be sacrificed because of the delight in the Lord. This is showing that animals will be submissive. A change in the kingdom, because that's not normal. That's not natural. Whenever there's wild animals out there and you walk outside, they scatter, just like the little squirrels and the rabbits. They just scatter the minute I walk outside. But in the day of God's kingdom, when we're in that, it's going to be so different. We can't even understand what that would be like right now. It's all everything is going to submit to God's order. And then verse 8, and what do I see flying like clouds to Israel, like doves to their nests? When it talks about flying like clouds, this is showing you that God is the director of everything, putting things in order. We can't understand it. We just absolutely can't understand what this is gonna be like on this side of it. And so I'm gonna have to jump around. Too many good things in here, and I can't focus on one to get through all of this great reading. Let's jump over to 10. Foreigners will come to rebuild your towns, and their kings will serve you. For though I have destroyed you in my anger, I will now have mercy on you through my grace. Once again, God is putting things in order. And one of his characteristics is supplying mercy. When was the last time you sought God's mercy? Have you confessed? That's vital to bringing about God's mercy. And then verse 12, for the nations that refuse to serve you will be destroyed. The glory of Lebanon will be yours, the forests of cypress, fir, and pine, to beautify my sanctuary. Nature itself will overflow. In the New King James Version, it says, and I will make the place of my feet glorious. God has his throne, but his footstool is the world. Let's jump over. I told you I was going to have to hop a lot. Just too many things great here. Isaiah 61. And this is a good news of salvation. The Spirit of the sovereign Lord is upon me. Did you see that? The Spirit, the Lord, and me. This is speaking of the Trinity, the Messiah. For the Lord has anointed me to bring the good news to the poor. I underlined the poor. He sent me to comfort the brokenhearted. I underlined the brokenhearted. To proclaim that the captives, I underlined captives, will be released and the prisoners will be freed. Does that just about cover everything? Jesus' ministry is to four types of people. The poor, which means spiritually bankrupt. To bind up the brokenhearted. That pain that just won't go away. There's no earthly remedy but Jesus. There's a song, I think maybe it's Third Day, that is Cry Out to Jesus, that would flow along with that. But brokenhearted. And then the captives. This is victims of habit. They're in a bondage that's so fierce that they can't get out of it by themselves. But God, but God, but God sending you to go because you know them. You're a friend to them. And you've been avoiding them for a long time because you don't know what to do. But the reason you don't know what to do is because you didn't pray on what can I do. And so take what you have, take what God has equipped you with, and you go to that poor person, and you go to that brokenhearted, and you go to that captive, and you speak life. You be the light that that person needs. We're going to read more about that in Philippians. And he goes to set the prisoners free from darkness. Before Christ, we were in the dark. So the poor, the brokenhearted, the captives, and the prisoners, we have them all around us. And sometimes we are those people. What do you do whenever you're experiencing something that your spirit is broke, your heart is broke? You can't quit doing the same thing you've been doing all the time. You know it's not good for you, but you just keep going one more time, just one more time, just one more. You become a prisoner to all of that. Get into the Word. Get into the Word and pray and get among like-minded believers that can help encourage you and dig you out of that hole that you've gotten into. And so then verse 3, to all who mourn in Israel, he will give you a crown of beauty for ashes, a joyous blessing instead of mourning, festive praise instead of despair. In their righteousness, they will be like great oaks that the Lord has planted for his own glory. Folks, I don't know if you need to have encouragement today. Right there is the encouragement that you need. The Lord gives us hope when we feel hopeless. He helps us to forgive when we can't. He teaches us that our identity is in him and not in what we do. He gives us courage to face an unknown future. So if you're mourning right now, just know that it doesn't last forever. It's a season. But there's action to take. Open up your Bible and read it. Pray. Meditate. God can bring times of growth out of our heartache. I feel like, Lord, if I have to grow anymore, I don't know if I can stand it. I think I'll pop. If I have any more challenges at this point in my life, I think that I'll just drop. But you know what? He says, you're not done until I've decided you're not breathing anymore. I'm going to exercise with you until we get the mission done that you have to accomplish, Debbie. And it's not done until I say it's done. So when we're walking through those difficult times, heartbreaking times, we know that there is a backstory. There's a bigger picture to that God is going to show us someday. And we may not see any of it until that day that we step through the pearly gates and we say, okay, let me see why you had me go through all of this. Philippians chapter 1, verse 27 through 2:18. Paul is talking to them. And he says, above all. Now before I go with this, let me read what I wrote down yesterday and shared with some friends. Because you've got a whatever going on in your life. And this is what he is talking about. Whatever happens, keep living. I know you'll stand united in one spirit, and then you'll never be shaken by opposition. For you have been called to endure. So what's your whatever today? And that was out of Passion Translation. So now we're back to our New Living Translation. Above all, you must live as citizens of heaven, conducting yourselves in a manner worthy of the good news of Christ. Paul's going to be checking on them. But let me tell you, people are watching you all the time. Are you saying that you're a Christian? You're walking the walk and you're talking the talk when everybody's watching? Are you doing the same thing when nobody's watching? Because you know what, they see you whenever you're standing in the grocery line and it's taken forever because the checker and the person checking out is just talking about yesterday's ball game, and they're just and like, I've got stuff to do, my ice cream's melting and all of that, and you're grumbling. Paul's going to talk about grumbling. You got to be a Christian when you're standing in line when it's uncomfortable. He says, then whether I come to see you again or hear about you, I will know that you are standing. When you're standing, what does that mean to stand? To stand. There's specifics in the stand. There's like a sanctification in the standing. There's society in the standing. There's service in the standing. There's suffering in the standing too. You just have to stand. Stand together in faith. Don't be intimidated. Fear and intimidation is the only weapon that our spiritual enemies have. Show courage and confidence. So we get stretched again. Man, I didn't know this was going to happen. But what do? We're not going to curl up in a ball, pull the covers over our head, and not come out. We're going to stand strong in the face of that enemy, and we're going to show courage, and we're going to pray like we've never prayed before. We're going to stand on the word like we've never done before. We're going to get our Bible out, and we're going to underline, highlight, and share all the promises that has to do with your situation right now like never before. Whatever is going on, this is what you go to. This is your whatever book. Is there any encouragement from belonging to Christ? Any comfort in this love? Any fellowship together in the Spirit? Are your hearts tender and compassionate? Paul's questions are aimed at the heart. If they've received these things, they have a responsibility to do what he describes next. Look what it says next in verse 2. If there's any encouragement from belonging to Christ, verse 2, then, because of all of that, then make me truly happy by agreeing wholeheartedly with each other, loving one another, working together with one mind and one purpose. Don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble. Thinking of others as better than yourself. Don't look out for your own interests. Stop that. Take an interest in others too. This is a personal request of Paul, but let me tell you, read that one over and over today. because that's a personal request of your friends. They're thinking, please, Debbie, quit being selfish and just thinking about your own self. We've got things that we need to pray about too. It's just not all about you. It's not all about you. Verse 5 says, you must, highlight must, have the same attitude that Christ had. Does that sound familiar? 1 Corinthians 2:16 tells us we have the mind of Christ. We must choose to let it be so. Verse 6, though he was God, Jesus, pre-incarnate existence. See, I told you this is really good. And I can't hardly stand it. Okay, so I'm flipping the page. Let's go to verse 12. Dear friends, you always followed my instructions. I noticed in verse 12 twice, it's talking about instructions and obeying. If you don't have instructions, you don't know what to obey. So he's given them instructions when I was with you. And now that I'm away, it's more important. Work hard to show the results of your salvation, obeying God with deep reverence and fear. So in the Aramaic, this can be translated as push through the service of your life or work the work of your life. Like I say all the time, God's given you a mission only you can do. It's your choice to complete it or not. But you have to focus on what is he putting in your lap to grow you in, to equip you for the next step. All of these are just like little steps that he's shining the light on. Oh, I said light again. We're going to be talking about light. Let's move on. Verse 13. And I highlighted this. This was one that I had sent to my grandson last year, and I do this with all of my big grandkids. I see something that hits me and it's for them. And so I highlight it and I send it to him. This one says, for God is working in you, giving you the desire and the power to do what pleases him. Now, I circled he is working in, and I circled in, and I circled giving, and I circled power. Because sometimes we can just skip over some of those little words, those little 2-letter words, and not give that the importance that they deserve. That's one that I would memorize if I was you. Because you may not realize that he is working in you. He wasn't just was working in you. He still is. And it's free. He's giving you the desire. And he's giving you the power. And then 14, it says, do everything without complaining and arguing. Oh, did that sting anywhere in your mind, heart, and soul whenever you read that? Do everything without complaining or arguing. Well, we are supposed to be light. And so you can shine in attitude and action. The right attitude in verse 14. Complaining. Complaining means to mutter in a low voice under your breath. A complaining believer is bad advertisement for the kingdom. Have you heard them before? You hear somebody grumbling under their breath. Well, maybe they're doing that so nobody will hear them. But what happens to your heart whenever you're grumbling under your breath? You're getting yourself wound up. You're building your stress level up beyond what it should be because you just keep yourself in turmoil. It's your own fault. And then arguing. It says without complaining and without arguing. So it moves forward from muttering under your breath to arguing. And so now then it's become a dialogue with somebody. And that doesn't go well. whenever you're aggravated, and then you finally got yourself so wound up that you can't stand it, and you just spewed out that all of those words that you shouldn't have done at that family dinner, at that football game, that you can't take back anything that you've said. So it goes on to say in 15, so that no one can criticize you, live clean, innocent lives as children of God, shining the light, shining like bright lights in the world full of crooked and perverse people. Hold firmly to the word of life. Then, on the day of Christ's return, I will be proud that I did not run the race in vain, that my work was not useless. You know what? We can talk to somebody. We can talk to somebody all day long, but we're just planting seeds. And we pray that those seeds take. But we all we can do is be the light. Be the light. And it's just like holding a flashlight on a dark night. You shine it out in front of you, and you just see just enough to take that next step. And that's what you're showing somebody. You're showing them Jesus, what they're able to do. You're living your life so they can see what it will look like. But if you take that flashlight and you shine it up into their eyes and just blind them, it's just like you're just blasting out all of the sins that they got to stop right now. You just, you're a sinner, you're worse than the worst, and that's not going to go over. Just show them love, show them Jesus. Share what you got out of the darkness in your life and that you overcame. Verse 17, but I will rejoice even if I lose my life, pouring it out like a liquid offering to God. And so, for whenever they sacrificed the animals back in that day, and they had it all out. I mean, the coals were hot. It was like super, super hot. The last thing would be take their whatever their liquid was, their libation, that they would pour that final thing on there. The fire was so hot that it just went up in smoke up into the air. And that's like it's just making that pleasant aroma. And then 18. Oh, wait. I'll back up just a little bit. Just like your faithful service is an offering to God, and I want all of you to share that joy. Yes, you should rejoice, and I will share your joy. So where does your joy come from today? The joy of the Lord. That's where my joy comes from. That's where your joy comes from. That's why we read the Bible, so we can build a deeper relationship with our Father, so we can understand him, so we can know his love, so we can help ourselves change, so we can be more Christ-like every day, and then just reach out to those that are poor in spirit, that are brokenhearted, that are captives, that are prisoners, because they're all around you, and they're just waiting on you to come and be that light for them. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And again, if you would put your greeting in the chat box so I can see that you were with us this morning. I will be back at noon for Noon Nuggets, and we're going to jump into Psalm 72 today at noon. So I love you. Thank you so